Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here with Vice Chair Ted Lieu and the DCCC Chair Susan Delbene after our meeting across the street this morning with our colleagues. As many of you know, for months, Democrats have been sounding the alarm on the affordability crisis and the expiration of the affordable tax credits that will expire at the end of the year at the hands of Republican leadership. We've reached out our proposed plans, anything we can do to get our colleagues in a position to work with us. We will meet with them anywhere, anytime, any place, if they come in good faith to work to extend these tax credits. But rather than accept the olive branch, Republicans have turned their backs on Congress and the American people across this country. Instead of doing what they know is right by their constituents and oftentimes what their own members are telling them, they are going to choose to kowtow to Donald Trump and the most extreme members of their own party. Remember, Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Hardworking families have been pleading for Republicans to do just that and to keep his promise. But instead of offering real solutions and working with us to achieve lower costs, congressional Republicans are putting on a show this week. Their bill, which may not even have the support of their entire conference, will not extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and will not lower costs that families face. Even if it were to pass, it won't become law. This isn't a serious effort to address rising costs of healthcare that millions of Americans will face. Now, $1,000 more in new costs thanks to Republicans. Meanwhile, Democrats on both sides of the Capitol have a solution we are on board with to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and ensure that Americans' premiums don't double or triple or even quadruple. We only need 4 Republicans to join us. Time is still marching on while Republicans sit on their hands. The American people will pay the price for the inaction when Republicans will no doubt pay a price at the ballot box next year. Next, I'll yield to Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. My heart goes out to the victims and the families and all those affected at the mass shooting at Brown University. I hope law enforcement catches the murderer soon and that person is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I also request the FBI director to stop putting out false information. It's not the first time he's done it. He wrongly identified a potential suspect in this case. There's literally no reason for the FBI director to have to be the first one to tweet something, to put out these things before verifying the facts. And when he does that, it ends up potentially ruining lives, putting the public at risk. And it's not something that FBI director needs to do. I ask him to just stop doing that. I also want to say that my prayers are with the Jewish community, both in the United States and across the world. The heinous attack in Australia was completely devastating. No one should ever be targeted because of their religious beliefs, especially when they're practicing those religious beliefs. And anti-Semitism, both in the US and around the world, has continued to grow. And we need to do more to stamp this form of discrimination out, one of the oldest in humankind. And it is a scourge upon humanity, and we need to all work together to eradicate it. Now I'd like to talk about jobs, which we've now reached the highest unemployment in since 2021, 4.6%. The American people know that the policies of Trump and Republicans are crushing people economically. We know costs also continue to rise, grocery costs, electricity costs, as well as healthcare costs. And Republicans have had an entire year to fix the healthcare system. They knew that the ACA subsidies were expiring and they've done nothing about it. And this week, they still don't have a plan to restore the subsidies for the ACA. Democrats have a discharge petition. 214 members have signed it. We just need 4 Republicans to sign this discharge petition, and we can stop these premium rates from increasing for people on the ACA. And I have a great honor now to introduce our tremendous field general and head of the DCCC, Susan Delbene from the great state of Washington.
Thanks, Ted. Good morning, everyone. Thanks to Chairman Aguilar and our Vice Chair, Ted Lieu, for inviting me today. Today, we had caucus down the street, and we gave an update on our efforts to retake the majority and hold Republicans accountable for their disastrous agenda. Americans across the country are rejecting Republicans in election after election this year. They have made clear that they are souring on House Republicans' broken promises, and it's just been a series of broken promises. The American people want leaders who are going to stand up for them, address the issues that are making their lives more unaffordable, not just policies that are supporting the wealthiest few. And despite what their constituents are telling them about how they are struggling, Republicans don't seem to care. They're avoiding people back home. They're not meeting with their constituents because they're scared, and they don't want to hear the truth about how their policies are hurting working families. Well, no matter how hard they try to avoid hearing about it, there's no denying the facts that we've seen on the ground. Americans are literally paying a higher price for the GOP's failed agenda. Working families are being squeezed by rising grocery costs from tariffs. We're seeing monthly utility bills jump higher. Healthcare costs are going up, and premiums are poised to skyrocket for millions of people next year. The so-called health package that they're putting on the floor this week will do nothing to address the Republican healthcare crisis that they've created. Premiums will go up, millions will be priced out of their coverage, and those who can still afford it will get less while paying more. Republicans are ignoring the pain we're seeing across the country for everyday Americans. And make no mistake, it is going to cost them the majority. House Republicans and Donald Trump know they can't win on the issues, so they've turned to rigging the midterms instead in their desperate attempt to stay in power. But this cynical gambit by them isn't working either, and the American people hate what Republicans are trying to do. From California to Missouri, just last week in Indiana, people are fighting back against the Republican scheme to rig the midterm elections. And on issue after issue, we are seeing the American people sour on Republicans, rejecting their price hike policies and showing that they are ready for change, for people who will stand up for them. House Democrats are fighting every day to win back the majority across the country. It's why we expanded our map of offensive opportunities last week. We are absolutely on the offense, and we expect to continue to look at opportunities to win races across the country. So simply put, we have incredible candidates. We are with the American people, have a strong message. Public sentiment is on our side. And next year, we will take back the majority in the House. Thank you. I'll turn it back to the chairman.
Questions? Nick?
You guys don't get a deal by the time the closes. Do you think the open enrollment deadline is there a narrower compromise?
Well, these are all items that we can legislate, right? We can write into legislation that we are going to reopen enrollment. That's what we would seek to accomplish with any legislative vehicle done at this point. We want to provide relief to the rising costs that these premium increases will mean to the American people. Many people haven't signed up for their health care because of those skyrocketing costs. So we want to give them an opportunity to join again. We want to make it clear for them that these costs shouldn't go up. We want to make it clear for them that $1,000 increases, are not what we should be doing. And so that's our focus and our goal, and we're prepared to meet with Republicans, talk with them in good faith if this is genuinely what they want to accomplish. Michael?
You mentioned that until that Republican will not make it into law even if it passes the House. Some of your Republican colleagues say the same thing about the Jeffries discharge petition, that even if you got 4 Republicans, it did not get the 3-year extension, didn't get 60 votes in the Senate last week. What's your response to that criticism? And then I have a question for Chair Delaney.
Yeah, I'll let each of my colleagues also answer this one, because I think I think it's yet to be seen whether this can become law or not. You mentioned it didn't have 60 votes in the Senate, but it had a handful of Republicans, right? So let's talk with those Republicans. Let's talk with others. We only need a handful more over in the Senate for the 3 years to become law. So let's find 4 willing to engage and sign this discharge petition, and then work on what we need to do to get a handful others in the Senate to come on board. But this is the closest path that we have in front of us. Other discharge petitions, 40, 50 signatures, that's fine. But this one we need 4. So let's see what we have here. Republicans, are serious about this, then they can sign our discharge petition and work with us in good faith. Seems like a reasonable place to land, given that their own leadership won't give them the time of day. We're happy to meet with them and talk with them about how we avoid increases to premiums that people have across the country. Vice Chair.
I'm good.
You're going to ask another question.
Yeah,
too.
you mentioned that
Go ahead,
you
Susan.
on that last week. I'm curious if the pending Supreme Court Section 2 decision on the voting rights case have you made any contingencies for if the Supreme Court does end up overturning Section 2? How does that impact the map, given that you made those offensive expansions?
We're going to continue to stay updated on what happens with maps. Clearly, there are ongoing efforts. Republicans are looking at places like Florida, for example. So we're going to continue to update our map based on any changes that take place. And we will see what the Supreme Court decides. We'll still awaiting that decision, and how soon that will be or how late that will be will help us understand what impact it might have. But we understand we could hear any time on that, and we will wait to hear what the Supreme Court has to say.
You mentioned the other discharge positions, being paper, but those are closer to what the Republicans in the Senate have been talking about in their meetings yesterday and even voting. Is there any chance that those move forward at all? Could Democrats get behind that to try and put the ball in the Senate's court?
I don't speak Senate. I don't know what the Senate's working on. I've said that before, but what I said was, and I want to be very clear, House Democrats will engage with Republicans if they meet with us in good faith, if it extends the premium tax credits and saves money for the American people. That is our focus. The focus of the Affordable Care Act was to make sure that people weren't uninsured. At the time, we had 46 million people uninsured. We've got 20 million people uninsured now. The Affordable Care Act did that. Speaker Johnson might want to rewrite history, but the Affordable Care Act did that. These premium tax credits did that. Expansion of Medicaid did that. Democrats' number one focus is ensuring that people are healthy and safe for them and their families. We want to avoid these increases that the American people are facing at the hands of Republican inaction. And we're willing to meet with Republicans and our colleagues. We continue to be open and have conversations with our colleagues about what the path forward is. What we're saying is this is the fastest and soonest path. 4 signatures, let's push it on the floor. Speaker Johnson, just like he did with the Epstein petition, could choose to put this on the floor once it has 218 signatures. He could do this. He is choosing not to. But that inaction is exactly what the American people see is wrong with Washington, D.C. and wrong with Republicans. But, okay.
The Republicans have a provision on their health bill around cost sharing reductions that includes language around how states whose health plans cover abortion will be excluded from this health funding. 13 states currently require insurance, including the ACA, to cover abortion. California and Washington are 2 of those. Can y'all respond to how Republicans could potentially make it so that 13 states don't have that type of funding, which is used to lower premiums?
Yeah, this just continues to be, and all of these, policies this is like the greatest hits of Republican healthcare solutions from like 2007, right? These are all old recycled policies that never became law. The provision that you're talking about specifically, and Chair Del Bene can talk to this from the Ways and Means perspective, is meant to be punitive to blue states who believe that women should have healthcare coverage and that those decisions should be between a woman and her doctor on what that coverage looks like. That is our core belief, and that is our focus. Republicans seem hell-bent on wanting to continue to assault that provision and ensure that politicians make choices about women's health care rather than doctors and women. And so that's unfortunate. But it isn't surprising. And like I said, these are all recycled provisions that haven't become law, that have been pushed back against even by Republicans in the past. And so this is a collection of pieces that Speaker Johnson feels will unite his party and his caucus in his conference. And we'll see if that's the case. They turn their back on moderates engaging in proposals that would provide, health care and lower these premium tax, lowering these premiums that people pay. We'll see what else. But generally, Republicans just take it. They'll just continue to vote, yes, because Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson tell them to. What else?
No, I mean, I agree. I think that we've seen attacks from this administration on healthcare across the board, on doctors' ability to help do what they think is best for patients to make decisions. So not surprising that Republicans continue down this path. But, we're going to stand up for healthcare for folks all across the country. They have created a healthcare crisis and raising costs for everyone. And the American people are seeing that, and they're going to continue to stand up and reject the policies Republicans are putting in place, because it's affordability, but it's also making sure that they can make their own healthcare decisions with their doctor.
As it stands, Democrat leadership is not backing either of the bipartisan discharge petitions. And with that, are you prepared for possibly a fully Republican bill or no solution to happen at the end of the year?
We'll see. Republicans have made that choice that they don't want to extend the premium tax credits. They made that choice in the big ugly law. They've made that choice during the shutdown. They made that choice each and every legislative day that we've had. They have known that these tax credits expire at the end of the year, and the tax credits that they chose to extend were all for billionaires and corporations. They chose to leave the American public out in the cold. And so they have made this choice. What we are prepared to do is to help, is to dig in and to offer our votes on a reasonable solution. And if Republicans want to meet with us to talk about what that solution looks like, this is the fastest and easiest path that has bipartisan support in the Senate. And could become law. And so that is our plan and our focus, but we're going to continue to engage, our members along the way, because our core belief is providing healthcare to people. And that continues to be the focus.
Mr. Chairman, two of the Republicans who theoretically could be the folks that would sign on to Girls' discharge petition, Representative Kiley and Representative Bacon in the last 12 hours have told me, look, we don't believe that Democrats actually want a solution. They think that Democrats just want to run in 2026 on the healthcare issue. What's your response to that?
Completely false. That could be what they tell themselves to put themselves to sleep at night. But that's not reality. Look, our core focus and our goal, we've been the ones who have been talking about this. During the government shutdown, when we're all here, we have been the party, we have been the people who have been saying the American people are getting left behind. You help billionaires and wealthy corporations at the expense of people. And that needs to change. We have to fix that. This deadline is coming on 12/31. Join with us. Where was the Bacon and Kiley amendment to the big ugly bill? They signed a letter or something like that telling the president not to cut these things. Big deal. Like, they sign letters all day long to absolve themselves of, cutting people's health care. Meet with us, work with us, come to the table and bring your ideas. But more importantly, don't just bring your ideas, bring your ability to tell your leadership no. And it shouldn't take somebody who's walking out the door and has one foot out the door to speak up against the president and their own party when it comes to healthcare. If there's serious folks on the other side of the aisle, and you can probably count them on two hands, then we're willing to engage with them.
The Democratic solution is very simple: extend the ACA tax credits. That is the solution. There's 214 signatures on a discharge petition. And let me just talk about what the Republicans have done. Nothing, right? They knew that these tax credits were expiring at the end of this year. What they would normally do, if you actually want a solution, you might actually have held hearings. You might actually have had folks testify. You might have actually tried to put together a plan. That's not what they did. They did nothing. And then last week, the speaker behind closed doors just randomly puts together a healthcare plan that he just is going to drop with no hearings, no witnesses testifying. That's why it's going to fail. They were never serious about doing this. As the chair said, the easiest solution is to just sign the discharge petition to extend the ACA tax credits.
Same topic, and not to beat this to death, but mathematically you are correct. 214 is more than the other ones have. A lot of Democrats are telling us that they're just waiting. They would love to sign them, but they're just waiting for the green light from leadership. So the numbers on the other ones could go up very, very quickly if you guys got behind it. So is there a point this week where if you don't get those four signatures from Republicans on for your extension, that you say, okay, green light, you guys can sign these, and we'll all get together.
Yeah, and anything can happen. Let's see what happens in rules. Let's see how the majority treats their own members who are bringing proposals to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Let's see what that looks like. And let's see what emerges out of that and how these Republicans, feel and if they're willing to, work with us and engage. But I want to be very clear again for the fourth time, like we're willing to work with our Republican colleagues if they meet with us in good faith, if they want to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, if they want to stand up for people instead of the billionaire class that received trillions of dollars from this administration with their vote, we're willing to engage in that. But this can't be, just to help them sleep better at night. We got to have, meaningful solutions, and it's got to be real. Last question.
This is for Chairman Delbene. Now that Brad Lambert is going to be your 10 primary, is each going to get involved for all that fairly something enrollment?
Our focus is on the swing districts, the purple districts across the country. You can see our map supporting our frontliners who are in really tough seats in terms of being reelected. And our offensive map, as I was talking about earlier, which is focused on the purple districts we can flip. So that is our top priority. We are going to continue to focus on making sure that we take back the majority. That's our goal. But we have, from the Democratic caucus broadly, there, we have folks across our caucus who will be supporting our colleagues to make sure that they have strong elections too. Our focus at the D-Trip in particular is on the purple districts.
The DCCC's focus is 218, and in 45, 46 weeks, whatever it is, Susan Delbene will be here with Speaker-elect Hakeem Jeffries, Speaker designee Hakeem Jeffries, and we're happy to talk about that races. And my expectation at that point is that Daniel Goldman is a member of the caucus and voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Candidates face primaries, members face primaries. That's the nature of the political system that we're in. We're big D Democrats, and oftentimes that happens. Many of us got here by surviving primaries and having a competition. So we're excited about the year ahead. We're thankful for all of you and the work that you do each and every day in representing and in communicating to our communities and across this country. We wish you all the best this holiday season and look forward to seeing you next year in the election year. Thank you so much.